Hello, and welcome to the Yellow Springs Village Council meeting for Monday, June 16th. We're going to start off, I think, with an executive session. So if I could get a motion.
Let's take roll first.
Oh, roll, sorry. Yes, that. Okay.
All right.
Judy?
DeVore Leonard.
Here.
Brown. Here. Hausch.
I'm here.
And we are expecting Trish Gustafson, also present, Village Manager Johnny Burns, and Solicitor Amy Blankenship.
Okay, now what I was going to do? Okay, now I will accept a motion for going into executive session for the purpose of considering confidential information related to the marketing plan, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance, as the information to be discussed is directly related to a request for economic development assistance that is provided or administered under any provision of Chapter 715, 725, 1724, or 1728, or Section 701.07, 3735.67 to 3735.70, 5709.40 to 5709.43, 5709.61 to 5709.69, 5709.73 to 5709.75, or 5709.77 to 5709.81 of the revised code, and involves public infrastructure improvements or the extension of utility services that are directly related to an economic development project.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. We need to do one by one?
We
Okay, roll
do.
call. Oh, hi,
DeVore
Trish.
Leonard.
Okay.
Yes, and Trish, we're just voting on a motion that I'm not going to read again because it's surprisingly long, but so maybe sit this one out and then vote the next one? Okay, so we'll be right back with you. Okay, so I'm a yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Hausch.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're into that. We have one motion for executive session. Now I will accept a second motion to go into executive session for a motion finding that executive session is necessary to protect the interests of the applicant or the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with the economic development project.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
TG. Brown.
Yes.
Hausch.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
DeVore Leonard.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we are going into an executive session. Public will be back in about an hour, and see you soon. Okay, welcome everyone who's here in person. Welcome back to those on the internet from the executive session. If I could get a motion to return to regular session, that would be great.
So moved. Second.
Okay, do we have to do the roll call thing?
Just voice vote is fine?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, and now I think I pass it over to Kevin for a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
tag team.
All
We're
right.
tag teaming. All right. So, formally call the regular session for Monday, June 16th, 2025 to order. Judy, if you could do a roll call vote. I know we might not need to because they already met without me, so I'm the new person. So, welcome everyone and welcome to me.
Welcome, Kevin.
Yeah, indeed. I'm happy to be here.
You
Thank
want to be
much.
welcome.
Yeah. So we're going to jump right into announcements. I don't have anything personally. Brian, I intend to.
Yeah, we have Mayor Pam here, if
Okay.
you want to kick it off.
Okay.
Yeah, see? Put you right at the top.
Hi, everyone. Mayor Pam Canine here. And I'm here with an announcement that has a lot of moving parts, and that's why I didn't want to hand it off to Brian. As many of you know, if not most of you, villager Amy Walmsley successfully swam the English Channel on her. There was a group chat set up, and boy, I went down that rabbit hole, and it was amazing watching her with that. The only other person I've ever seen with that consistent of a stroke was Judy Kintner, our very own. For 16 hours and 56 minutes, just shy of 17 hours, she kept swimming and made it ashore and turned around, got back in the Zodiac, and came back for her honors that she so richly deserves. So I'm here with an announcement not only for the people in this room, but for those watching at home, to listen to the following. Tomorrow night there's going to be somewhat of a spontaneous welcome back to the village for Amy. Call it a parade or an accompaniment as she enters town. She is arriving at the Columbus Airport with her 2 assistants at 6 o'clock. The plane will land. She'll get her luggage, et cetera, get with her driver, and probably, if they're lucky, by 6:30, they'll be on their way back to the village. This next part of the plan has been okayed with village management and staff and Chief Burge. The police are going to pick her up and escort her car to her home with, probably red light going and so forth. So we've got a bit of a spontaneous parade going on. Tomorrow evening, we're to gather out on Xenia Avenue, suggested between the train station, bike path, etc., down to Allen Street, where the police will be making the left turn to go back to Amy's residence, sort of behind Dollar General in that area. So I'm going to suggest we get in front of the Little Art, in front of the library, that area. Bring your friends, tell your neighbors, bring the kids, bring noisemakers, hoot and holler, bring a sign, because we really want to welcome our sister Amazon, Amy, back to the village after this esteemed achievement, which it is.
Yes.
So parade tomorrow night, gather by 7:15. Their car should be going from 68 North past Young's down into the village. They'll pick up the police car there and just, hoot and holler when she comes by. Okay?
All right.
Questions?
We know how to hoot and holler.
All right. Indeed you do. Thank you all.
All right, thanks, Mayor Pam. All right, that's exciting.
Great.
And, I have a few things.
Sure.
I first of all wanted to say this afternoon I saw folks already enjoying the community space on Short Street. So it's doing what it's meant to do. Saw like the dog hanging out, saw some other things happening on a leash, by the way. Want to remind folks that YS Pride is June 28th, so that's going to be another great parading opportunity. Everyone's encouraged to join and walk in parade, and of course council is invited to participate actively as well. And then of course we have 4th of July coming up, and I'm sure Johnny will let us know about those details in his manager's report or sooner. Also, I'm hearing that everyone loves the app, YS Connect. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, make sure to do it. Great notifications, great way to keep it up, keep knowledgeable. And mostly what I've heard is, why didn't we have this before? But we have it now. So I want to thank the many villagers who participated in the peaceful protest and supported democracy in Springfield this past Saturday. So got to have the full effect of street fair myself and then be out there, and it was amazing to see so much participation and really standing up for positive change. And that reminds me of some of the statements I've been hearing lately. And I want to call out to folks to really think about running for elected office. If you listen to NPR recently, Amy Klobuchar has highlighted that it's very important for elected officials to keep a positive attitude and to fight for change. And that's the way I think we all feel. And so definitely any of us are available to talk about what it is like to be on council. I see an amazing school board member here, and I know the school board thinks the same way. So reach out if you want to understand a little bit more about the role. I want to thank Elise and Cameron and the team for getting together our village booth at Street Fair. It was really fun. Pam and I had a shift, and actually everybody joined us because it started raining a little bit. But we got lots of donations. We have great t-shirts, still plenty of those left. So if you'd like to donate to support our youth center and our parks, please ask us about one of those t-shirts. Juneteenth is this Thursday. Remember, that is a village holiday as well as a national holiday, and there are some great activities happening throughout the day at Antioch College, starting with a walking tour at 1 p.m. that begins and ends at the Coretta Scott King Center. There's a community celebration with vendors and music and all kinds of great stuff. A highlight is going to be from 5 to 7, the celebration of Martin Luther King Jr.'s 1965 speech that he gave at Antioch College, and that's going to be right between the Antioch Hall and North Hall. And then finally, there's going to be a party starting at 7 p.m. So dance and listen to music and just hang out. I wanted to finally mention, I think I had everything else. I know we're all saddened about the assaults on state elected officials in Minnesota. And I wanted to mention, or actually share some words, if you haven't heard these, that Representative Hortman, Melissa Hortman, who was murdered, said, and I think it really says a lot to me about, again, this, what it means to be an elected official. When she was inaugurated, is that the right word? What's that? Sworn in, thank you, as Speaker of the Minnesota House in 2019. Her comments were, "We are not here to avoid conflict. We are here precisely to have conflict. It's an important part of the democratic process, but if we can have that conflict with good humor and humility, we'll all be better off." And so, thinking a lot about those words, and that kind of comes back to we need good people to run for local office as well as state and federal. So that's what I've got.
Brian, thank you for all of those comments. I really appreciate what you bring to these meetings on a regular basis. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Kevin.
Anyone else today have comments or announcements? Yep, Philip.
Hello, Philip O'Rourke, Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm not here to talk about street fair, but I will say thank you to the entire community, as well as the Village Council, of course, for support, Johnny and his team, and Paige and their team for the tremendous support. I could go on and on and on, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. But it just needs to be said that that would not have been possible without the collaboration, and it was incredible. So thank you for that. I'm here to talk about the 4th of July. Hopefully I don't steal some of your thunder. I might be coming from a different angle, so hold on. So I wrote something here because there is something happening with the 4th of July that I think the council needs to be aware of, and I want the community to be aware of it as well. Yes, it's a celebration, but hear me out. There's something magical about the 4th of July in Yellow Springs, and it's more than just a celebration. It's a reunion, a reminder and a reflection of who we are as a village. It's the day we come together, some adorned in red, white, and blue, and others just to cheer on our neighbors. In the parade, gather at Gone Park for food and festivities, and look up for a spectacular fireworks display. But today, I have to be honest with you, like I said before, this beloved tradition is at risk. For the past several years, the Chamber of Commerce has proudly taken on the financial responsibility of ensuring that the 4th of July remains a vibrant and inclusive event. The fireworks display alone costs $10,000 each year. While we, the Chamber of Commerce, are deeply grateful to the community members who passed the bucket at Gaunt Park, and to our partners, YSPD, Miami Township Fire and Rescue, and Public Works, for their generous in-kind support, the reality is simple. The Chamber alone cannot solely sustain the cost of this celebration. This year, we were incredibly thankful to U.S. Bank, who has stepped forward with a $3,000 Gaunt sponsorship to help fund the celebration for 2025. Their leadership matters, and we hope it inspires others, but if this event is to thrive into the future, it needs more help, and specifically financial commitment. We need our village council, other organizations, and individuals who love this community to stand beside us, not just in spirit, but in real dollars. This is not just a fireworks show, it's a homecoming for many. It's the heartbeat of summer. It's the moment alumni return. Go to Bulldogs. It's the moment alumni return. Families gather and memories are made. If we don't invest in it today, we do run the risk of really losing it, because it's beyond the scope of the Yellow Springs Chamber of Commerce's capacity to be able to sustain it year after year. So here's the ask. Council, please consider contributing financially to what is deemed as a signature event and preserve this village tradition. To our community members and organizations, we have some letter writing campaigns, and I want to thank the community members who have already given. That is tremendous. Join us in the celebration, and for the celebration, come out, decorate your vehicles, ride in the parade, bring your spirit and support however you can. And everyone, just visit the events page to make it easy, yschamber.org. Just go to events, see everything that's happening, see how many ways you can get involved, and see what's coming up. This year's celebration is on Friday. It's on Friday this year, July the 4th. The parade is going to be at 12 p.m. The lineup is going to be outside of Miami Township Fire and Rescue. Some details will be coming as this location has changed just a little bit with some new homes. The festivities are going to be at Gaunt Park again, beginning at 6 o'clock. Of course, the fireworks are at dark. And I heard that Midnight Swim is still on the calendar if there is no rain. So again, I am so grateful for the partnership that we have with the village for this celebration. We ask our entire community, and specifically council, to now give thoughtful consideration to its future. With shared investment, you can ensure that this cherished celebration continues for generations to come. And with deep gratitude, I really appreciate all of the support, and I would hope that as we continue to move forward, this is something that equally has your attention, equally has your support when it comes to finances and budget. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think that was clear.
I will let him do the manager's report.
Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Phil.
Philip. Appreciate you. Are there any other announcements? All right. Seeing none, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda, the minutes of our June 2nd regular meeting and also the credit card statement for May. The chair will entertain a motion to consider the minutes of the June 2nd regular meeting.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Abstain.
Yep, thank you very much. The motion is passed. Now for the credit card statement for the month of May, can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of approving the credit card statement for the month of May, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions, rather? All right, hearing none, that motion has passed. Now we're at the review of the agenda. That's where we take the opportunity to review the currently published agenda, see if there's anything that we'd like to consider adding to or removing from the agenda. Are there any concerns to be addressed regarding the review of the agenda? All right, hearing none, we will continue as published. Since I'm going to take somewhat of a minimal role in the rest of this meeting, I'm going to go ahead and do the reading of the petitions and communications. The clerk will receive and file a letter from Samantha Eckenrode in support of the Windsor PUD proposal, a letter from Shelby Chestnut, president of the Yellow Springs, the president of Antioch College Board of Trustees in support of the PUD proposal, a letter from Callie Carey Devine in support of the Windsor PUD proposal. We have the mayor's 2 monthly reports, the mayor's clerk's 2 monthly reports, and we have an excellent memo from our solicitor, Amy Blankenship, describing the idiosyncrasies, if you will, of the various forms of annexation. And that is what we have for petitions and communications, and I am going to step aside for most of the upcoming legislation.
Okay, and I guess it's not really on the agenda anywhere else to talk about the annexation memo, right? So I think just as a public interest, if you haven't looked at our packet, or you don't look at our packet typically, and you've been engaged in or interested in conversations about annexation, the memo that's in the packet, I think, would be helpful for folks to read. I think that's the extent of it, right? Okay. Okay, so I'll be sort of presiding here with Kevin recusing from several of these conversations. So we'll start with public hearings and legislation. Judy, should I start with the thing about we don't have to read the whole thing? Or do we need to do that on this kind?
You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that until the second read.
Okay. And then, do you want to do the sort of disclaimer about citizen concerns, or?
Sure, I can
Okay.
do that. So just, there are 4 ordinances that will be heard tonight. The public hearing on those ordinances is not until July the 7th, so there will be no public hearing opened on those for this reading. You can direct your comments to citizen concerns, or you can certainly return on the 7th and have them in the record as public comments directed towards the legislation. Obviously, they will be heard either way.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so then could you read the ordinance 2025-10?
Yes, this is rezoning one parcel totaling 2.169 acres of property located at 275 East North College Street to planned unit development and amending the zoning map accordingly.
Okay, looks like, motion, get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Now, Meg, right?
Now, Matt?
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Meg.
Yeah, Meg Leatherman, Planning and Economic Development Director. Thanks, Council. Tonight is the first reading for, I'm actually going to group these together into the 2 ordinances, so 2025-10 and 2025-11, just talking about it. you still have to go through the formal action of opening the second ordinance, 2025-11. But I'm going to kind of just speak to the project holistically, and of course, we can be flexible, but I don't like repeating specifically over and over again. I think it might be easier if we just kind of consolidate them, because they're both for the same project. So you got the 2025-10 is for the rezoning, and then we did a separate ordinance, 2025-11, for the preliminary development plan. Overall, what I've been calling the application for PUD, or planned unit development, specifically preliminary development plan application. The PUD section of our code has multiple steps and layers and public hearings, and so we're just at one of those points right now. So again, this is the first reading. There'll be a second reading on July 7th, and that's when the public comment and public hearing will happen. So I'm going to just give a little bit of an overview tonight, and the intent is for us basically to make a public announcement about the upcoming public hearing. That's kind of why it's broken in two. But also to give council a chance to give any thought to what additional information may be needed in preparation for the second reading or the public hearing. So if you have any questions now, that's appropriate too. So on June 10th, per Village Code, the Planning Commission recommended approval of a request to rezone property located at 275 East North College Street from E1 to PUD. They then recommended approval of a preliminary development plan for the same property, and both recommendations passed on a 5-0 vote. A staff packet was provided to the council and also posted on our website that included the materials the Planning Commission used to make that determination, also the code section, conditions of approval that staff suggested, and also included in the council's packet were then modifications that the Planning Commission made to 3 of the staff findings that were articulated in the front cover of that packet. Code section 125405C5 clearly outlines the council's responsibility for this type of application. It states that the village council should review the preliminary development plan, the record of the Planning Commission's proceedings, the standards of 1254.06, and the recommendation of the Planning Commission. And based on all that, either approve, disapprove, or approve with modifications the preliminary development plan and rezoning request. So that is the intent of the first and second reading, what we'll be zeroing in on. And let's see. Yeah, so I wanted to give the council an opportunity tonight to just give additional thoughts or questions. As a high level, this specific application is, again, for the property at 275 East North College. That is known as the old Student Union property on Antioch's campus. It's also been called, as the development has been called Unity Village by the Windsor companies. It's proposed for 96 units, multifamily units in 2 structures with a density of 44.26. And this is all what was included and, again, is outlined in detail in the council packet, but just a high level. 29% of that would be open space. The PUD section of our code allows, through the PUD process, modifications to certain dimensional standards that are standard for different zoning or use categories. So there was a modification to this for height. The base zoning of RC was used as a comparison, 35 feet. The structures would be 43 feet and 3 inches. Also for parking. Parking was proposed at 192 is required, 110 off-street parking spaces are provided. And then rear yard setback was also modified by 4 feet. Again, that's all in the packet. It's a lot to take in, so maybe just, if you even have questions after, it's fine too, because of the type of application it is. But so again, Planning Commission recommended approval, and I'm here to get any feedback you may have on additional information you would like at the second reading or in advance, and answer any questions. I think I'm done.
Thank you. Anybody got any questions?
So I do. Since there aren't elevators, are they going to give preference to the first level to people with disabilities?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they have stated. I mean, that's not part of the recommendation specifically, but that would be what they would need to do, yeah.
When you say they would need to do, what do you mean?
Well, if someone was renting and filled out a rental application and needed an elevator or couldn't go upstairs, then they would have to use the first floor spaces.
Okay, but it's not like they have to by law.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
What?
there's no,
Have to by law what?
like, provide an elevator. The building, the
No,
high.
they don't have to provide an elevator, but they
Correct.
would have to rent that apartment
Yes.
to someone who's
Right,
in a
sorry,
chair.
I
Because
thought-
it's ADA. It's
Good
ADA
clarification.
compliance.
But
I
are you
meant-
saying, would those people, would the applicants have precedence? Like, meaning if there were 2 applications put in?
I mean, preferential treatment?
Yeah.
Yeah. They should, that's what I'm asking, they should. So.
Is
I
that?
can find out more information for that, for the next meeting, from
Cool.
Windsor and how they handle that. Yeah.
That's a question
they can directly develop to. Yeah.
Okay.
Windsor, yeah.
I mean, they have, there's ADA requirement for that.
Well, there's ADA requirement that it's that they have accessible units, right? I
Right.
don't know what it is per.
So would it be, it'd probably be on a first come, first served basis. If people, apply, if 2 people apply and one of them, I don't know. If they apply at the exact same time, one of them uses a chair and one of them doesn't. Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is the kind of discussion you want, right? It's just,
Yeah,
here's some things we
perfect.
might want to know and that you can bring back.
If I can
Okay.
answer them easily, or Amy will answer
Yeah.
it, or Judy.
Great.
If not, we'll just come back prepared for the next.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Trish, did you have other questions?
That
I
was the
didn't
only
mean
one
to cut
right
you
now. No, it's okay.
Carmen?
off. Okay.
So I have a few things. First of all, I really appreciated, I watched both of the Planning Commission meetings, all the feedback that we got from citizens, very valuable, and really raised a lot of important points that I think are informing the process. In particular, it was nice to see the condition and the confirmation from Windsor that 15% of the apartments would be permanently affordable. And we've got a definition for what that means. That equates to, for at least the student union project, 15 units that would be permanently affordable. I also liked hearing the condition that any results from the traffic study would ultimately be followed through in terms of the final design. But on the parking study, or I'm sorry, a traffic study, based on the majority of comments, I would love for that study to incorporate a deeper dive on parking, as well as something that we had talked about doing from the Active Transportation Committee, a biking and walking audit. And ultimately, the results of that biking and walking audit would be, how do we make sure that sidewalks have the proper connectivity? Do we have, bike paths that not only navigate that area, but also get to the schools and get to the Little Miami Scenic Trail? And in my mind, that shouldn't be too heavy of a lift to add those factors, because in looking at traffic flow, I think those things are relevant. So that is one thing I'm going to be looking for when this comes back and we make our ultimate decision, is willingness to look at all those factors, because that's about 90% of what I heard in terms of the concerns. The other thing I wanted to elevate is, there were many comments on opening up the rest of East North College, and again, ultimately getting down to Corey, that would make this project work a lot better. And I certainly agree with that, then all the comments that came up about that. So I want to understand what that looks like, because we didn't get too specific on it, with the Planning Commission meetings, but I think it's really important. So those are the things I'm going to be looking for in making my final decision.
Carmen, you got anything? Okay. Well, I just want to say thanks, Carmen, for being at these meetings. I had a long standing conflict that made it so I was going to miss that meeting no matter what it was, and then it turned out to be a really important one and a long one, both that and the next one, so thank you. So the things that I was gonna sort of mention are more like just sort of from a process standpoint. So I just want to make sure that everybody's sort of aware. Meg mentioned this when she was going over things, but so at the next meeting, we'll do the actual approval, and the options are approve, deny, or approve with modifications. And so just so everybody's aware, that's the process. Then, Brian, you already kind of highlighted it, but I just want to be clear that there has been so much conversation about the traffic study component, and one of the conditions that was passed from the Planning Commission, and Meg, tell me if I say this wrong, was that it would, there would be a traffic study that would be required before the final development plan. So just so everybody's aware, the way the process would work is if it was approved at this stage, there's still multiple steps left, and so that would be sort of a requirement before the final step of the final development. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, the final development plan comes back to the Planning Commission. So then, after, they can't start construction until that gets approved too.
Okay.
And then, I think then they could submit building permits, because then you have to do the building plans. Those get reviewed and approved, and then, but they don't go to public hearing or public meeting, so
Okay.
building permits don't.
Just, it had been enough of a topic. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew how it worked. And then now this is my one sort of personal comment or question that's related to what would be helpful for the next meeting, is this 15% permanent affordability. Just any kind of information about how to implement it would be helpful. So, what happens if there's a sale, by Windsor? How would we check to see if it's being met? So anything in terms of details of just how would it be implemented would be really helpful. I think that's the only other question I had. So again, we'll do a public hearing at the next meeting, but I guess staff or council, any other questions on this before we moved on? Okay, so Meg kind of combined these things, but Judy, if you could read the ordinance 2025-11, please.
Yes, this is approving the preliminary development plan for a PUD located at 275 East North College Street.
So I guess, Meg, is there anything?
Do you want to get a motion?
Oh, sorry, motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. Meg, is there anything else you wanted to add on this piece?
I don't have too much more to add. I really, in my mind, view them as the same.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to say overall, and I think Aaron Rodgers said this really well at the last Planning Commission meeting. Basically, we're hearing that everyone understands we need apartments. It's a benefit to our community, and it's, goes back to the Bowen housing study, which Kevin Magruder referenced, and that identification of that being a huge need for our village, and something that hasn't been addressed for about 7 years. But I also want to say that it's great to look at this in terms of the overall collaboration amongst the different entities that are involved. It will make a huge difference for Antioch College and help to move forward their revitalization efforts. It's also will be great for our community in general and make sure that more folks who want to live here can live here. It will help with our downtown businesses and our local businesses in general. It will support our schools. And it also involves revenue sharing. And so one of the things that I always think is important about this is that it does effectively lower costs overall for all villagers when we have more housing. Not to mention, it will help bring down the incredibly high costs of houses overall currently. So I love that we're all coming together on this. It's great that everyone is contributing and helping to make sure that this can be the best project that it can be.
Yeah, I want to add a little something to that. I echo all of those sentiments, Brian.
Thank you.
And also, it's really very important that we keep in mind that it's keeping people in the village who have been here for a long time, who wouldn't have any other option but to leave. So yes, we always want new people, of course. But it's also really important to mention that there are people who have been here for generations who would be able to stay.
Yeah, that is huge. And it reminds me of what Carolyn Mullen said about, we're going to have a senior center right there. How cool would it be for folks to be able to live right across the street? Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned the Bowen study, because I think that, if you wouldn't mind putting that in the next packet, just as by your count that we looked at the Housing Committee months ago, the affordable workforce rental housing in the Bowen study, the suggestion was 70 units, and the market rate rental housing, the suggestion was 60 units, and from 2018 until late last year, we had added 0 units. So it's a significant, development that has been challenging to have happen organically thus far. So I think just worth noting that has been the typical guide for this body for quite some time. Any other comments on? Sorry, my thing went. But the one that we're on now, the second one, 2025-11. Okay, well, hearing none, and again, there'll be a public hearing on that topic at the next meeting as well. So hearing no other questions, we'll go on to, Judy, if you could do the first reading of ordinance 2025-12, please.
Yes, this is rezoning 11 parcels totaling 1.256 acres of property located at 150 East South College Street to planned unit development and amending the zoning map accordingly.
Great, thank you. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're right back to you, Meg.
Yeah, so procedurally, the same kind of scenario here. This is a preliminary PUD and rezoning. There's 2 ordinances, 2025-12 and 2025-13, and it's a preliminary development plan for PUD. I did have some calls about the parcels, a number of parcels, 11. It seems like it's actually a smaller area than the other one. This one's 1.256 acres. It's just how it's been developed over time, and so that would be consolidated through this. But again, this is the first reading for those 2 ordinances. The second reading will be July 7th. The WISR has asked that they be grouped together because it's both the same company pursuing these applications. So July 7th is a public hearing and public comments for this. The Planning Commission recommended approval on this one as well, but it was on May 13th, 2025 when that happened. And did I give the address? I apologize. 150 East South College Street. So the Planning Commission recommended approval of both a request to rezone and the preliminary development plan. And it's the same zoning E1 to PUD for the rezoning as well. And the recommendation was a 5-0 vote as well. So I provided a staff packet to council. Also was posted on our website, includes the applicable code and the materials the Planning Commission used to make their decision, as well as the conditions of approval, very similar conditions of approval. There was one added at the Planning Commission meeting, 2 screening on the southern property line for the residents to the south. So that was added in the staff memo to council. And it has the same, council's responsibility is lined out the same for this application. The village council should review the preliminary development plan, the record of the Planning Commission's proceedings, the standards of 125406, and then the recommendation of the Planning Commission, and shall approve, disapprove, approve with modifications, the preliminary development plan and rezoning request. And that's 125405C5 that outlines that. So again, the public hearing is July 7th, just a high level, some of the unique characteristics of this. They would not be demolishing this one. This is known as the Kettering Building, and it would be remodeling it interior. I'm not quite sure on abatement. There probably will be some if they're remodeling it. But I don't think they've done like a thorough review of the site yet. They will need to. They're under contract right now. They don't own it outright like the other one. They do. So the proposed to remodel the interior and 43 units to be, 43 apartment units to be, or multifamily dwellings in the structure. That equates to a density of 34.40 dwelling units per acre. Open space would pretty much remain the same. Most of the built environment is going to be exactly the same, just improved and enhanced. So the open space areas, they did talk about they putting a community garden for residents in the front, I believe. But those details, the specifics of location of things would come with the final development plan step, so later.
And they're removing the garage thing, right?
Yes, there
Yeah.
is a, I went by and looked at it, it is pretty much falling apart. Yeah, dilapidated garage in the back, that will be removed, yeah. The parking, off-street parking spaces provided will be 52 off-street parking versus the code's 86, because it's 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit that's required with 43 units. So that was a modification that was approved with the Planning Commission recommendation as well. So I think I'll go ahead and stand for any questions you might have or information you think we need additional information to bring back to the next meeting, July 7th.
You don't want to talk any more about shrubbery? There was a really fun conversation at home about shrubbery.
It was great.
Loved it.
Okay, in all seriousness, nobody has any questions? Okay, because most of the stuff that was said the last time would be
Right.
applicable for this time, okay. Okay. Staff, anybody else? You good? Okay, so we'll come back to this one with a full conversation with public hearing at the next meeting. Judy, if you could go ahead and read the first reading of ordinance 2025-13, please.
This is approving the preliminary development plan for a PUD located at 150 East South College Street.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so it seems like this is academic at this point. Is there anything else you have to say?
No, thank you.
Does anyone have anything else to say? No. All right, we'll talk about that one again next time, too. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
It's been a lot of work. Thank you.
Good work.
Okay,
Oh, got it fixed.
guess Kevin can come back, right? Should I just start us or just wait? I mean, let's wait for him, right? Yeah.
Want me to go find him?
He's in my office.
He was going to try and
You might have fallen asleep.
I'm surprised they overlooked her, that's amazing. Yeah, those are so pretty.
Do we have any hold music or is there a feedback?
It's a universal hold music.
That's right.
Or that's actually it's more like
Are we at resolution 2025-35?
2535.
Okay. All right. Thank you all for your participation in whatever was going on while I was out of the room. Chair will entertain a motion. Judy, I'm sorry. Please read by title only. Resolution 2025-35.
This is a resolution to proceed with election on the question of a renewal tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation.
Now the chair will entertain a motion in a second to consider this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Who's carrying the water?
Happy to do that. Hi, good evening.
Hi.
This is, as we talked about at the last meeting, to put a voted upon levy on the ballot. There are 2 steps. The first resolution that you did at the last meeting for this renewal levy was to ask the auditor to certify the amounts the levy will generate. That's occurred. We've received that certification back from the auditor. This is the second resolution. This is the resolution to proceed. And as you can read in the body of the resolution, this sends it to the Board of Elections with the ballot language for the citizens of the village to vote on the 8.4 mil renewal levy.
Okay. Any questions for our solicitor? Any questions for anyone? All right, thank you, Amy. All right, council, if there are no questions of concern, all those in favor of passing this resolution, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign? All right, hearing none, that motion has passed. Thank Thank you for your participation. Judy, if you could read by title only, Resolution 2025-36.
This is authorizing the finance director to extend availability of green space funds in the amount of $113,000 to December 31, 2025.
Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
All right. I'm looking around.
This is me. The original agreement that we had with Tecumseh Land Trust expires June 30th. They've asked for an extension. It's taken a little bit longer to make things happen, so they're asking for an extension to December 31st.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Johnny. Council, any questions, comments? Amy, or Judy, or Johnny? At one point, there was some concern about our green space fund sitting seemingly unused for a while. Has the recent activity sort of put those concerns aside?
This is that recent activity.
All righty, let's do it. Yeah, what she said. Thank you.
Well, meaning that we're sending a signal that.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Right.
That you still need those funds in that account.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, cool beans. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of this resolution, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign? All right, hearing none, the motion is passed. Thank you very much. Now, Judy, if you could, please read by title only, Resolution 2025-37.
Well, Brian,
Yeah.
Wants to read it? Do you want to read it in full?
I would love to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. It seems to be an annual thing, and
it does.
this is another incredibly important signature event of the village. So this is Resolution 2025-37, celebrating pride in the village of Yellow Springs and honoring the LGBTQ+ community. Whereas LGBTQ+ people are part of and significantly contribute to all cultures, all classes, all families, all religions, and all ethnicities, and are actively welcome in Yellow Springs as codified in our village values, and whereas LGBTQ+ people continue to fight for equal treatment, dignity, and respect, and we must show up to overcome current threats from homophobic, transphobic legislators. And whereas the annual YS Pride celebration highlights that pride is a statement and involves protest to guarantee rights for LGBTQ+ people, along with fun, festivity, and fellowship. And whereas the current, just doing this, toxic political environment is degrading the rights of the LGBTQ+ community, and pride is a critical movement to resist and give voice to our family, friends, and neighbors, reminding the world that the LGBTQ+ persons are here, proud, and unstoppable. And whereas we wish to recognize the LGBTQ+ people, improve their communities, and help make them complete, we raise ourselves by raising all disempowered and underrepresented and oppressed people, and we must join together to overcome the torrent of erasure coming from the highest levels of government. And whereas the Yellow Springs embodies that which is best in local government and community, and will continue to affirm and vigorously support that we can all be ourselves here. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council for the Village of Yellow Springs that Section 1, Village Council takes pride in the diversity of our community and commits to ensuring the equal treatment and protection of all villagers and visitors, regardless of race, age, sexual orientation, gender expression or identity, ethnicity, economic status, mental, physical ability, or religious affiliation. Section 2, Village Council encourages marching louder, celebrating bolder, and standing stronger on June 28, 2025, to recognize the rich cultural and societal contributions of the LGBTQ+ community, and to fight for justice, equity, and inclusion, calling on each of us to recommit ourselves to confronting hatred and bigotry in all its forms.
Thank you, Brian. Chair will entertain a motion and second to consider the legislation.
So moved.
Second?
Is there any discussion? Any additional discussion?
I just want to translate. Thank you, Brian. We're here, we're queer, get used to it.
Yeah.
Man,
Nice. See? It sums it up.
It's one of the old favorites.
I love it. I love it.
It's your first draft for next year, Judy.
All right. If there's no further discussion, all in favor of passing this legislation, this resolution, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, hearing none, that motion has passed. We're now to citizen concerns. This is the part of the public meeting where citizens are allowed to come and speak your mind. There is a clock over my left shoulder that is a 3-minute timer. We are asking that your comments be unique. In other words, don't repeat what others have said. There is no, or should be no, expectation of comment or response from council. And so, here we are. Oh, there we go. Please identify yourself, your affiliation with the village.
Hi, my name is Rolita Hildebrand Chambers, and I am a resident of the village. And I'm here today to express my sincerest apologies to Yellow Springs Village Manager Johnny Burns, Village Council President Kevin Stokes, and Village Council members Brian Hausch and Trish Gustafson. Sorry about that. At the last Village Council meeting, I accused Mr. Burns and the aforementioned council members of being underhanded and not being transparent about the annexation of the Jones property on East Enon Road. I referenced the Village Council meeting of April 21st, at which I claimed the property was discussed. In fact, the Jones property was not discussed on that day. It was a different property on East Enon Road. And had I read the agenda more closely, I would have known that, and I should have known that. And so to each of you, I sincerely apologize for my accusations, and I just want to state that I think we are extremely fortunate to have Mr. Burns as our village manager. I believe he exemplifies the integrity and public service ethos that we deserve from our leadership. I personally respect him and all that he does for our community, and I am truly sorry for my comments, specifically that were directed mostly at you, so I apologize for that. And I will do better in the future to make sure that when I make statements that they are accurate when it comes to what we're talking about here in the meeting, so please accept my apology. So that was the main thing that I wanted to say, but I also wanted to talk about the Windsor property and say that one of the things that irks me about development, and I am 1,000% in favor of this development, this PUD development. One of the things that irks me is when developers require a lot of infrastructure changes, and that falls on the local community to do that. In this case would be our village and our Public Works Department. So I would suggest that along with the traffic study, we understand what the cost would be to open North College, and that I personally think it's a great thing to give them tax break. We're going to get a ton of revenue just from the people who are living in those apartments. But I do think that there's a responsibility that you all have and that we have to say, when you're going to come and build and produce a burden on our infrastructure, whether it's roads or water or whatever, runoff, that the developer should be mostly responsible for that. So hopefully that is part of the ultimate plan. And I do want to thank Councilmember Hausch for talking about what new apartments will do, because I think it will improve the overall quality of apartments available in our village when new ones are available. It will drive down the cost of ones that aren't new, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And really, thank you. And as I did say, and when we opened, that there should not be an expectation of response, but I do want to respond. I accept your apology on my behalf, and if council will allow me to speak on their behalf, as council, I'll represent us, and we do accept your apology.
Thank you.
Surely. Absolutely.
Can I actually say one more thing?
Sure, absolutely.
Rolita, I appreciate your active participation in all the meetings, and I love that you are involved, and you do your homework. So, yeah. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Yes.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Bouquet. I'm here as a villager, but also as a single board member, school board member here. I have two goals tonight. One is to make sure that you are aware of HB 335 called the Property Tax Relief Now Act. And then the second that will come at the end is to pitch a proposal to you about that. So the Property Tax Relief Now Act has been introduced only 10 days ago. And it's moving really fast. Tomorrow we have a conference committee that is beginning to reconcile the three budget proposals that is at the state level. And we, the school board members, are getting a five level alarm from all of the different lobbies group, other school districts that are representing us. It is pretty bad. The words that I've heard today in the webinar that we got is that it's a historical gut to school funding, and that is pretty strong to say, knowing that school funding was unconstitutional in 1997, and apparently this is topping that, okay? So we are set to lose almost $1 million yearly for the schools. This is going to be really devastating to us and to all the other school districts in Ohio. There is not a single one that is in favor of this budget. The second thing also is that it would change how we can put a levy down. There would no longer be a substitute levy that is going to be impacting us, and also it's going to be limiting how much cash reserves we can have. We will be limited. The number is fluctuating right now, so it's between 30, 50. It could be anything by June 24th when they need to push the bill to the next level. The thing is that it's not only impacting the school, the public school districts, it's also impacting the villages. And I wanted to make sure that you knew. The townships are exempted from this. So at the advocacy webinar that we got today, we were told to review all the materials that were shared with us. I'm not going to share the ones that I got. I mean, I can, but it's all about schools. The second ask is that we build a coalition with fellow local government leaders such as cities, counties, policies, I think they meant police and fire. So now, because of fire is part of a township and the township is exempted, we're not going to go that route. But my pitch to you is that maybe we can write a joint statement. Again, I'm saying that as a singular board member because those things are moving too fast and we don't have time to meet and agree, but based on the sentiment of our conversations as a school board last week, I am fairly confident that the school board is united in that. I had a chat with the school board president tonight, an hour ago, and she was in favor of pursuing this. Now the deadline is June 24 for that, which is really in a week and 1 day. What I propose is that you have one person working maybe with me. We can write a joint statement and then pitch it to Kevin as a council president. We can make a statement on behalf of the village, and to Rebecca Potter, Dr. Potter, we could make a statement on behalf of the school board and then send it to our representatives because they need to hear from us. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I can tell you from a village standpoint, it's about $440,000
Per year.
Wow.
per year.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dorothy. Wow. So, yeah, yes. Amy, I know you were out for part of that, but let's make sure we circle back around rather.
Yeah, and then I copied the end of it. Our firm's been pretty involved on that as well, so yeah, we can
Okay.
certainly close the loop on that.
Absolutely.
Kevin, do you want me to drop that into new business just to make a decision as to who can work with? I mean, you're fairly last minute.
Sure.
Okay.
Then we talk about it. That's good. All right. Oh, we're still in citizen concerns. Yes.
Hi again, it's Rick Sanders. I live on East Enon, and I just want to point out, to the best of my knowledge, which is per force limited so far, that there is a substantial expansion of this town, a real Beaver Creekization in our pretty near future on the west side. And so that includes, as I understand it, 124 units on East Enon, north of Dayton Yellow Springs Road, likely approximately 400 in the new 84 acres, ignoring the units on the Antioch campus, and this is to be added to the still being worked on development that's under completion, that's contiguous with the 28 acres. This adds up to some 650 units. I may be wrong, but I wouldn't be able to be more specific. A good 1,000 cars additional on the west side of the village, and a good 2,000 people, which is really substantial and impactful. And I'm not objecting to it. I just want to make sure that, I know that these things are at various levels of realization, and it's easy to sort of wave them off and consider them something to deal with in the future. But I do think it's important that all of us are aware that this is on the way, and without significant opposition, it's going to happen. And if that is the will of people of the village, then it is. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Appreciate you. Any other citizen concerns? All right, seeing no activity, we're going to close the citizen concerns, and we do thank each of you for your participation. We have no special reports, so we're going to move into the manager's report.
All right. As Brian said earlier, 15 minutes after the tent was up, we had our first busker underneath the tent playing a violin. So they've got the picnic tables out. It's going to be an ongoing thing to get it up and running. Ben and his team are currently working with weather to get the lighting all together. The striping for the handicap on Xenia Avenue will happen tomorrow morning if the weather permits us. The striping for the Walnut Street, we're eliminating some yellow curb, putting in some parking behind that, so that will happen again tomorrow. And yes, the blocks are concrete and they look industrial. So good thing we have an artist on staff, and he has come right up with something to make the block look go away on the Xenia Avenue side. So just to let you know, the space, we went by there at 1 o'clock on the way back from another meeting. There's already people out there eating, which is phenomenal. So if you have time, you want to grab a lunch at one of the local restaurants, Tom's, Current Cuisine, just go down there and sit and eat, and happy to chat. So
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. I attended the Dayton area managers meeting with Elise. It was in Springfield. They hosted it. They've done some phenomenal things downtown. They've literally got pickleball right outside the community center. It was not being used that day because it was raining, but they've just turned out it place into a phenomenal place out back. So we did some more talks about how we want to make that group proceed, and different perspectives. So we're working to make it a better organization for the years to come. The new group that I started, we met on Thursday in Tip City. and we discussed some of the challenges of being new manager. And I found out that I was the old guy in the crew because I'm about a year and 9 months. Everybody else is younger than me. So we had a phenomenal time. Mark, can't think of his name, Sweeterman was there from the city of Kettering, an old, a retired village manager or city manager. He was there to give us some advice and pointing us in the right direction. So that group is moving on, and we're excited. We meet every 2 months. So Street Fair booth, I want to say thank you to everybody that participated. Brian, Mayor Pam, Denise Swinger, Elise, Cameron, and everybody else that helped out in that area. I appreciate it. As Philip said, PD, Public Works, the Street Fair team from the Chambers was new this year, and we had some not great attendance because of the weather, but we all learned some key points to make October a lot better, and we got it set up, tore down, and was able to close off Short Street, and I still made it home by 9 o'clock. So hopefully October is going to be a lot better attendance, but we did, I'll come back to it later, but we did man 4 parking lots, and with car donations, about $3,400 for the youth center. So we did very well on donations to be able to help support the youth center for this coming year. Aveka made an announcement last week or the week before that they joined forces with MVCC, so they're bringing the Miami Valley Communications Council to Yellow Springs, which is going to be about another 14 employees locally, but they're going to join forces together to become just even bigger and better. So I wanted to highlight that in there.
So Johnny, let me, so MVTCG is going to be the new group, and I have been meaning to, really wanted to let the dust settle before I reach out to Thor.
Yes.
But I just wonder, and Brian, I know you have this concern as well, I wonder if that partnership might facilitate our getting a little closer to the possibility of municipal broadband.
I will ask Thor that and get back with you.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
We still have T-shirts for sale. Donation $25. See the utilities downstairs. We'll be putting them in different areas to try to continue on that. YS Connect, download it. People are finding out that it is, like Brian said, why didn't we have this years ago? Well, under the new management team, the leaders that I got together, Tip City just had released this, as I was just telling Elise and the team, man, I wish we had an app. I was like, Greene County's got their, and then Eric released his, and so the very next meeting I was like, how'd you do it? So they actually released theirs in October 24. We was able to get ours up and running. It's the easiest way to view any council meetings, to get onto the website. I mean, I got it on both my phones. So my wife has got, I got 2 phones. I got one at each ear. So my wife's got it, my daughter's got it, and it's a great tool. Jacob Cooper started with us. He is a part-time police officer as needed. He worked Street Fair for the first time. He come to us from Wright State. He is full-time military, but he works for us part-time. So we is happy to have Jacob Cooper come on board. If you want to see the 199-page document from PUCO, I can share it with you. Vectron is asking for an increase, so you will be getting more information from CenterPoint. It's not Vectron, it's CenterPoint. On your bills will probably be going up in the near future as soon as they get permission from PUCO to do so. PUCO decreased what they wanted. CenterPoint wanted $415 million, and PUCO's recommendation is about $350 million. So we will see what comes out, but they gave us a disc, and we downloaded it and figured out what we needed to share. Village PD has now got their own Facebook page. Under the circumstances that happened over the weekend, we went from 140 users, now we're at 196. So get out there and download the village Facebook page for the PD, and you'll get the information there as well. Florence served, or total served for Florence was about 109 people. And so that ranges from here local, from unhoused and all of it.
Right.
Meg has got a section in there, but she just talked about the properties, so I won't re-highlight that. Aaron went to a 2025 Ohio Basic Economic Development course, and his picture's on the back. He passed. He's good. So we're getting some things done on that end.
Nice.
Michelle and Elise, they will be attending tomorrow a RETA class, and they'll be gone majority of the day tomorrow, getting the updates on the tax information coming up. Yard waste, the big change on that is you can now only buy them, the yard bags, at the utility office, seeing as how we have lost the hardware store.
Good.
EPA, we've got the permission from them. We're working with the Glens to make sure that we're not disturbing them. Both well locations are on the Glens property, so we're asking them for permission, and they're checking some burial Indian stuff to make sure that we're not in that protected area. So just we'll keep our eyes and ears open for that one. And I think that's about it. If you look back through there, the pool pump got in, the pool's doing good. I do want to highlight back here, you'll see Travis out there. We are so fortunate to have a great artist, a full-time artist with a part-time meter job. So Travis is out there doing a fantastic job on the artwork of the hydrants. We have ordered the extensions to make sure that people know that there's a hydrant there. I got them ordered today. And then I want to highlight in there, Rose is in the bucket truck up on top of the pole, reprogramming some tanless systems. So again, people going above and beyond, doing different projects in the village to make things a better place for us. And that is what I have.
John, I had a couple of questions. Page
Okay.
20.
Page
I needed a legend to see what was happening there.
Okay, so that water main break was on Omar Circle. So that is, the maps above it is what they're doing, plus they are showing you the new GSI system.
Okay, so
It's a dual.
okay, so just, if we have this map again.
Yep.
Have some legends to let
Sure.
me know what.
Sure.
'cause I tried to imagine what everything was, but the clarity wasn't
Yep.
that great, so I was just trying to see what was happening there. And one other thing, I think this is page 22. What are VCs? This part of the electric update?
Page 22.
I think I got 22. Yeah, VCs.
Those are for the meter, those are the control system.
Okay.
That's what Rose is working on.
Okay.
Reprogramming the
Okay.
VCs.
All right, good enough, that's, yep, and then when I searched the document looking for VC, of course I got Village Code 50 times, so, all right, good. Any other questions for Manager Burns? Okay.
I actually don't have any questions.
Good report.
Well, yeah, you're saving your strength for later. Okay.
That is.
All right, good. Well, thanks, so, thank you, Johnny, for all that information. So we're, there was no old business, so we do have a couple of new business items, and looks like, Brian, you're gonna run things for a while.
All right. So actually, I think everyone saw the memo, and so I'm happy to answer any questions about, the history of the village values. But really, I think my ideas with this initial potentially discussion is two things. Number one, just to elevate the village values and see where we're at in terms of commitment. And then secondly, if there is interest in some refinement, that is certainly something that we could discuss further, either tonight or in the future. And I think in particular, if we did have some ideas about specific things that maybe should be better highlighted or better articulated. I think that's another piece of that discussion. And so I don't think we have to go into too much depth tonight, but I thought it would be good to gauge that interest. Two things I want to mention or I guess pull out that aren't maybe totally clear in the memo. Number one is that historically, we would peg our village goals to the values. So those goals would then kind of highlight, is this delivering on being a welcoming community and diversity, or is this delivering on better communication or fiscal responsibility, affordability, so forth. And then the second thing I wanted to mention is that with the village values, well, actually, that was maybe the main thing I wanted to mention. I was trying to think of, nope, I think that kind of covers sort of my overview. I know, strategic planning. I think the other thing to consider is that this to me is part of that strategic planning process. So, our commitment and clarity around our village values, I think will help direct those next activities. And so anyway, so this looked to me like, as I thought more about it, a substantive next step in doing that. So I guess I'm curious, any thoughts, again, about either how do we feel, and whether we should be exploring refinement?
Yeah. Well, I think it's, if you don't mind my jumping in, I think it's good to revisit our values. And according to your memo, they've been fairly consistent, but when council has taken the opportunity to do refinements or updates, there's been something from time to time. So I definitely think, regardless of motivation, whether it's what's happening in the rest of the world or otherwise, I think it's, and that's been sometimes the driver, for some of the updates. So, I think it's great to do a review, and I think we ought to periodically. It's not something that's been scheduled, but I think whenever the spirit moves you, I think we ought to consider it. And as I was reading through and then reading the draft agenda for the work session, I'm not proposing we hijack the current agenda, but I just wondered if, I would think it ought to get a little airtime or some consideration as we're going through, maybe just ensuring, to your point earlier, Brian, that that's the filter, that the village value should be a filter through which some of these other considerations would be viewed. So, I think it's good to keep it as a living document and go through a review, whether it's, again, a standalone meeting where we have that discussion, have the full discussion here in council chambers, or allow it to be maybe a dovetail from the work, upcoming work session. Again, I know I wouldn't be sensitive to the existing agenda, however. Okay, those are my thoughts. Council, any other comments on the village values discussion?
I agree with it should, be a document that we utilize as we go through the strategic planning process. That we need to be mindful of those.
I would add that I don't, to make sure that we don't sell ourselves short, and we can use this document and use our village values and directly correlate some of the things that we've been doing, staff and council, that correlate with those values, because we've been working our values.
Yes.
And I think it's important that we keep that in mind and give ourselves some kudos for that.
Good point.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, go ahead, Gavin.
No, I mean, I guess I definitely agree with the idea of there would be a values component to strategic planning process. I guess it feels a little bit like the village goals thing, where it's like on an annual basis. It seems like it would be healthy to just look at them, say, how are we doing? So that's all that came up to mind for me, because there's definitely things I'm like, oh, clearly that seems like it's being thought about consistently. And other things you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe we could do better on that.
Yeah, I think a temperature check is warranted, but I would add, we should be okay if we do a review and don't make changes. You know, I think the goal is, again, review, reaffirm, if you will, but not, since we're talking about it, we have to change it. Okay? All right. So, Brian, I can't say that I consumed the next steps portion of your memo.
Let me see. Anything in
Well,
particular?
While he's looking at it, I guess, I think the idea of like these values being connected to the work session, I think it's a natural flow. Like, not that there's like a new agenda item, but just these are the kind of ideas that we're trying to think about as we think about growth or as we think about development.
Right.
And so we can name them again. I mean, but it would be brief. It would just be like, hey, this is sort of an underlying assumption for everything we do.
Yeah.
That's what you had in mind?
Yes,
I think that
yes.
seems
Yeah, like I
like
said,
it'd be fine.
as a filter for the other things that we consider, yeah.
I think the main thing I'm getting at is that, and, I sort of referenced it in the memo that, I want to make sure that we're guided by, sorry, we talked a lot about, I thought I was knocking over water, which I always do. We've talked a lot tonight, and I think we do in general, about what works for our community, what makes sense for Yellow Springs. And, again, with all the stuff that's going on at the federal and state level, I think it's very important that we sustain this community and we move forward with what our community character is all about. So I guess along those lines, I think reaffirming, I like that, and the idea that we're all mindful. But maybe part of it is that we do have an ongoing discussion, and we make sure to reference those when we do some of these things like the work session.
Yep.
So I think that that's a great example where maybe we need to flesh out affordability, for example. I mean, we talk a lot about it. It's referenced in one of the values, but I mean, part of it to me is, what really matters currently, and again, making sure that we maintain our integrity as the Village of Yellow Springs. So, was that did that help?
That did help. Okay. And Judy, the agenda, the draft agenda for the work session, should that have been Gavin?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I skipped over the thing, because Brian, I see your name on both of these. And so it was, and I should have gotten clarification before. But, so we will, the values will come up next week in our work session. And on that note, Gavin, I'm going to hand you the floor to talk about the draft agenda for the work session.
Okay. I didn't know I was being handed anything, so I just say the draft agenda was in the packet. I guess I would just ask for any questions, comments, feedback for the session. I'm sorry the gentleman who raised the questions around the sort of growth stuff is left, but the idea is some of the things that were said are happening, or there's questions around or discussion around. Some of the things I think were not accurate, and so the hope is that we can have a thoughtful conversation. I think this is the first of many conversations in a lot of ways. So anyway, I'd be interested if folks have input or feedback. I guess the main thing I just note is that there are 4 or 5 questions that the hope is that every one of us would come with a ready answer, and it's like 1 minute each. So it's quick. It's like have your bullet points.
Yeah.
1 minute each.
Come on.
All right, we'll use the timer.
No, that was just, it was right there. It had to work. No, in all seriousness, that would be the main thing would be just to make sure that you know that there's some prep work expected. But are there thoughts or questions?
It's a robust and comprehensive agenda. I will echo your comments, Gavin, because as I look through it, we need to dust off the Bowen study and other things in preparation for it. So I do hope that we do the homework, if you will, in preparation for that. And so, again, very, very robust and well thought out. And I look forward to jumping into those things and in the meantime, doing my homework and answering those questions ahead of time.
Well, it just reminded me, I'm sorry, make sure if you don't know where the 2010 visioning document is to ask Judy. Because there was some really great work. I mean, I wasn't here at the time that was done. And I think when I've referenced that document, I mean, we do have a tendency to reinvent the wheel. And so, it's good to look historically. I remember, they talked about running municipal broadband 25 years ago. I remember in 1995 reading a document, or it was from 1995 from Chief McKee, that was exactly what we were going through in 2015 related to, some of our, policing issues and whatnot. So, it's kind of amazing what those documents suggest or inform us about.
So, you know what, I will just send to all of council, and I'll just send it to the whole council packet, the Bowen study and the visioning document. That way you got it if you need it.
That would be appreciated. Thank you. Johnny?
Yeah, but I do have a question. What are you looking for from staff? Conversation or documents? I mean, we got literally 2 days left and we'll be there Monday, so.
Yeah.
I think we was just talking more about having a conversation.
Yeah.
To where we can gather information and thoughts and then come back.
I was hoping this was going to be positive in that it just took the same things you had already put in the draft and then shortened the time significantly.
Okay.
So I was thinking it was more like, hey, here are some of the things we're thinking about with no expectation that we have answers. So that I'll just use a specific example, like your, Burns and Burge related infrastructure and services. It'd be more like, here are some of the things that we are expecting we'll need to look into. Correct. Not, here is what will happen. Now, if for example, something like, I'm just completely making things up here, but that if we got 500 new houses, then we would have to get a new water plant. Well, then tell us if there's some obvious thresholds you're aware of. But in general, the assumption is that that in each of these topics, you'd just be saying, hey, here are the things that we would already have on our radar, and then the conversation would be, hey, are there other things that we might want to put on your radar? Or, okay, you mentioned this, but here's something I'm specifically interested in, so that we can then guide the future conversations. Okay. Is that okay?
Exactly what I was thinking.
Cool.
Good.
Excellent. Any other conversation on that point? Now, Judy, we sort of slid the HB, the House bill, on as new business without us agreeing to do it. I said okay, but are we all right with discussing that? Okay.
So, and it seemed as if you all can arrive at an individual who wants to work with folks on the school board to craft a letter that gets you off to the races, because it needs to be out fairly quickly, it sounds like.
So I'm going to bring this up here because we have this happen sometimes where there's legislation that's moving and then we talk about our our engagement. My only flag is somebody I was a lobbyist for many years, worked at the State House for many years on these kinds of issues. My only kind of asterisk would be that it would be put through sort of a strategic screen, meaning there are times where hearing from liberal Yellow Springs actually hurts. Like, meaning that if we're the only ones, now if there are a bunch of other municipalities, so this is where, so like Johnny in this case, if you're talking to other managers and there are multiple other municipalities that are communicating, then us being part of that, I think has no downside. Sometimes what happens is that the only the in a conservative legislature, if only the liberal municipalities, historically tagged as liberal municipalities, respond, then that's like a trigger where they're like, oh, well, the people that like us haven't said anything, but the people who don't haven't. So anyway, that would be, and this isn't specific to this. We had this recently on the, the Housing Trust Fund, and I thought about it then, and I'm like, I don't want to say anything. So just that's a blanket comment for all these would be just, I would just like that whoever is working on it to just do a quick check to make sure that we're actually adding strategically beneficial, not just saying something and actually hurting in the broader context.
Yes, and also for this particular bill, I think it's everybody. And to kind of add to that, we only need to talk about why it's important and what it means. And I think leaving all the illustrative, leaving all the opinion out. These are the facts. This is what it's going to mean. And it's how many school districts now are like free? I mean, everybody.
612.
Yeah.
It impacts over 62% of the school district. 62% of the school district would lose something immediately. And
Dorothy, since you're speaking, just so the folks out in the world can hear you, please.
Dorothy Bouquet again. So this has been met with outstanding communication from board members, superintendent, treasurers, engaging. Our legislators have never seen that level of engagement because it's so bad, if that reassures you.
Oh,
we are on the same side as Cedarville. So we are not the liberals. We're not the only ones.
I was using this one as the time to say it because I know that this is widely.
Yes, and I agree with
I'm
you.
just naming, hey, it can be a Yellow Springs thing to be like, throw in, and on this one, it's definitely everyone.
We are,
but for the future, when it's not always, let's just think about it before we do it, that's all. On this one,
that makes perfect sense to me, but for once, we are actually working with the Cedarville Public Schools on that, just to give you an idea of how broad of a political range this is impacting here. And to your comment, I think the request here is to quantify what would happen. If the village was to lose 400 and how many?
440.
440, what does it match in terms of your budget? What budget lines on your budget matches $440,000 so that people understand that? So statewide, this is a loss of $3 billion for public education in Ohio. That matches the payroll of 20,000 teachers. It's as if overnight we would not be able to pay for 20,000 teachers in Ohio. That's really bad. That's really bad. For us, $1 million, I don't know yet what budget items, we would match to that. That's a conversation with the treasurer. But this is where I think we can make it very tangible, not only to alarm our legislators, but also to alarm the people here so that they can contact them and say, like, don't pass this. And the last thing I want to say is that it raises the threshold of approval to 60% for a school levy, which is the same, I assume, for the village levy. You just put a village levy on and you would need 60% of voters that would approve it for it to pass. I mean, think about that. If we apply that to school levies statewide, only 20% of the school levies would pass in Ohio. This is how bad this is. And I wish that it was one of those bills that just legislators put on to cater to their base, but it's not, because they're discussing it very seriously at the reconciliation of the 3 budget versions that they have right now. Thank you.
Dorothy, is there a plan to send something out to residents so that they understand, and with the links so that they can contact the representatives?
I haven't had time because I got this today. I don't know. I mean, I think that if people look up HB 335 of 136 legislative assembly, they'll see a lot of news. I've seen a resident that just posted about it on social media, so I think that the word is going out. But it is, yes, I wish that I had a link. Well, I don't. Introduced this 10 days ago. Yeah.
So I would say this is probably in my wheelhouse. specifically, given, my past, well, actually, I've often written our testimony when we had to defend, for example, our, Airbnb mitigations and that kind of thing. And, I still know this state legislature quite well, so I'm happy to collaborate if that works for everybody.
I was going to nominate either you or Gavin.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should all, review the document if we can. But I know that.
You want to take that, and Gavin, you okay, or do you want to be involved? Okay, all right, Brian.
Yep.
I'm okay, Gavin's okay with you stepping forward, Trish,
Oh, I think,
Carmen?
That makes sense.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Shirley, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for the discussion. Lots of good points by everyone. All right. That was the end of our new business. We're now down to board and commission reports. If there is anything that you feel needs to be highlighted beyond what was already documented in the packet, now it's time for the various liaisons to indicate that. Already. Hearing none, we're going to close that part of the agenda. And Judy, if you could talk to us about future agenda items that we ought to be thinking about, anything that came up today, certainly all the second readings of everything.
Yeah, so you've got the work session will be on the 23rd, and I'll get the agenda, obviously, will go to the paper, that sort of thing. You have all of the second reads on the 4 ordinances. Next time, you will have a grant request coming from Village Artisans and a review of village values.
All righty. Yes, go ahead.
So not for this meeting, but we had talked, I think it was the last meeting or something, about maybe just doing a revisit on the rules, like the council rules, the thing that had to do with the, being at meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
So no rush or anything, but just so we can just set up, just what our expectations are and just do it and keep going.
And Judy, you're right. I brought up the boards and commissions document. I know we had that, but I guess I thought either in there or something separate was council specific.
I sent you council rules and procedures during agenda planning. We're already sure. It's
Okay.
an ordinance super specific just to council, so I can get that in the next, put it in the next packet. I don't know that you're going to have a lot of time. You've got all of those public hearings, so you might just, it's an easy one to bump.
Why don't we just plan on putting it for a couple? We already know next one's going to be busy and there's no rush, so.
That sounds good.
Should we add a discussion? Philip was essentially making a request for assistance on the July 4th fireworks. Is that something for us to consider?
I don't think this is the time to have the discussion. It's not budget time, and it's a little late for July 4th at this point, so you have plenty of time. And you've expended a lot of your fund. You've done that for the year, and allocated funds for policing and parade routes and barricades and all the other things. There was not anything added because you didn't know that anything needed to be added at that time. So I would say they have missed the boat for 2025.
I have had conversations with them about coming back to budget time versus.
And I think I wouldn't be speaking out of turn. For Finance Committee, Michelle, Finance Director, sent essentially like the budget timeline. So I think it's worth just flagging, especially for commission leadership, that the initial ask of budget requests is the beginning of September. So just, if you've got a commission that you know is putting in an ask, or if there are things like this that may be coming from outside entities.
Correct.
The beginning of September is like the time to get your stuff together and in.
And
we'll come back with this full timeline, but it's worth noting. It'll be here soon.
Right.
It's already July.
And Judy, you just alluded to a lot of the things that the village does already for the 4th of July. Is it sort of worth kind of annotating maybe the monetary value of the work we're already doing?
I can answer. I think we're going to be bringing back something probably in July as like an MOU for 4th of July and others, Pride, to be able to have them understand what we do and what we're doing there.
Okay. Sound good to everyone? Yep. Okay, all righty. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, according to our agenda, we are therefore adjourned.
With a motion?
So moved to adjourn.
Not necessary.
Second?
All right, we are adjourned.